Otherwise, we'll just put...
That was a good gig on Saturday night, wasn't it?
It was a superb gig on Saturday night. Welcome to Modern Sales Meltdown with myself, Gareth Wax, and of course, David Treacle-Chernick, who is calling in from Claims Foreign, abroad as he is, enjoying himself in Dubrovnik, I believe. Is that right?
Dubrovnik, yeah. It's amazing here, man. It's such a cool place.
Oh, it's very pretty. I know that. So, as ever, we talk to you all about sales, modern sales, and why actually taking a different approach and can really produce a far better result. And today we're talking about that one thing that people, and specifically salespeople, often run screaming with the screaming abdabs into the forest. How to prepare your forecast.
It's well, I mean, first thing to say is that it is one of the killer apps. If you can get this right, it makes such a huge difference. However, most sellers do not do it. They don't do it at all. So they never I mean, yes, they set themselves goals and targets, but they never forecast. Right? It's always a case of, well, as much as possible, rather than looking to see how much business are we actually going to be generating in the next month, quarter, half year, 2 years, right? And it's actually not that difficult if you do the other things that we always talk about in this show. I just want to sort of go through two things first. One is why people don't do it, you know, why they find it difficult, and also why it is so advantageous for you to do it. Okay, so here's the thing. You might say that I'll call them sellers. I want us to try and call people sellers in future more rather than salespeople, because I know that the people watching this show are not all salespeople. A lot of them are owner managers, people that own and run their own businesses.
How about sales practitioners?
Can we not?
All right.
Can we not?
Sellers just makes it sound like we're selling apples and pears down the market.
I would be very happy to do that with some quality fruits and a decent market with a good audience, right? But the same would go for them. The same would go for them.
So all right. So
why is it so important to be able to forecast? And what advantage that you would have from being able to forecast? So, you know, let's just put some numbers on it. You've done 100 grand last year in profit, let's say. Right. To get that 100 grand in profit, you might have done 500,000 in sales or 250 grand in sales. You know, it obviously depends on the profitability of your product. But for the likes of you and I, you know, we have a very profitable product because our overheads are so low. Okay, apart from, as we were talking about last time we spoke, all of the subscriptions that people like you have to all the different software packages and that kind of thing, and staffing.
Right.
So you know, you've done 100 grand. If you want to grow that, you want to grow that to, I don't know, 10% growth. That's 110 grand profit. Probably means you're going to need up to 10% extra in sales. So how are you going to get that? Well, we know we probably need to crank up some of the activity. We might need to improve on our marketing. We might need to make some more calls. We might need to, you know, take advantage of our networking a bit better, treat it like a system. All of those different things to put stuff into their pipeline, right? So it can trickle down into the place where you and I, well, certainly I live. What part of the funnel, Gareth?
The anus, of course, the colon.
I got the colon, the rectum end of the funnel, correct. So in order for us to be able to do that, we need to know specifically who are going to become our clients. Now, in our heads, we might think, well, I have no idea who's going to become my client in 6 months or a year or 3 months. Well, I bet you do. I bet you do, because you will have had some experience of selling in the past. This obviously doesn't particularly apply to startups, although I do have a little technique for startups. If you've got any kind of track record, you will know where your business has come from in the past, right? And you probably have an inkling, or you could calculate how many quotes you would have needed to do in order to get the business that you did get, right? That's your conversion ratio of quotes to wins, right? So if, for example, you send out 3 quotes to get 1 win, your conversion ratio there is 3-1. Easy. There's also another conversion ratio, the number of people who appear in your pipeline, genuine sales opportunities, those people who you've qualified and you know they want to buy a service, perhaps from you, they would consider getting from you, they would consider getting a quote from you. There's a conversion rate of all of those people, your sales opportunities into quotes, right? So just to give some examples, if your conversion ratio of quotes to sales is 1 in 3, and your conversion rates of sales opportunities to quotes is also 1 in 3, then you have to have 9 sales opportunities or 9 good conversations with people to close a particular piece of business. Now, what's crucial here is it's not going to turn into a piece of business one day. Yeah. Most people who I deal with at first, they're thinking, well, I've got a 1 in 3 conversion ratio here. And I ask them, well, when is it going to come in? They go, well, I don't know exactly when. A month, a year, but one day. That's no good to you. Yeah. Winning a deal in 2 years' time or a year's time or 6 months' time is very, very different to saying that business, the estimated close date of that piece of business is in October.
Yes, it's very difficult to make any decisions about activity or process if you've not got yourself an estimated close date. And you always say one of the questions you should ask is, if you're going to come on board, when would that be?
There you go. And stressing those 2 words, if and when. Yeah, because to qualify, there is no pressure on them buying, right? Qualification is not the time to be selling your product. The qualification is to see if they qualify to have that conversation.
Yeah, it may be that they say we would love to have that, but we've got no budget this quarter. And so at which point you're saying to yourself, maybe we should belay that conversation to a quarter when you actually have the budget to spend on it. And that way you can spend your valuable time in preparation. I can spend my valuable time looking after my other clients.
Correct. And even if you do want to close them well before, again, having that conversation will tell you where that money is going to appear if they're going to win. So the way that maps out on somebody's pipeline, and it's very easy to do on a piece of paper or on a spreadsheet, or dare I say it, in a proper CRM system that all work the same, is to be able to map out a year, month by month,
right,
and put in the different deals as they are going to appear if they win in all of the different months. Yeah. So that you can then build up a picture of when, during the course of that year, those deals will come in, if they're going to come in. And can you see now how applying the conversion ratio will then give you a forecast? I'll illustrate the point. If I know that I'm quoting for a new accountant to come on board, become one of my clients, and on the new Treacle Club group service, that's £245 a month, yeah, but they've told me that they're not going to start until October, right? Then I know that I've got a 1 in 3, if my conversion ratio is 1 in 3, chance of winning that client in October. What does that mean for my forecast? It means I'm able to forecast about whatever it is, 85 quid in October, 85 quid in November, 85 quid in December, etc. For as long as they're likely to become a client. So I know roughly how long somebody is a client for. Right. So there is the beginnings of my forecast. And I look at it and I think, oh gosh, that's not very much money. I'm going to need a few of them, right? So if I wanted to make sure that my forecast in October was, I don't know, 10 grand.
Yes.
Then I would then I would know how many of those subscribers I would need in October.
Right.
Yeah, to make that up. So 10 grand divided by 245. Yeah, so that equals about 32. Yeah, 32 clients. If I have 32 clients in October, then I'd need to be quoting for 96 of those clients today. Yeah. Assuming that's when they said if they were to become a client, when they would sign up. Right. Now, that sounds like a lot.
I was discussing this with my team only last night, and I sat them both down and I said, so what's your pipeline right now? Show us your pipe, to quote David. And they showed me, I think, 16 opportunities, of which 10 had been fully qualified, of which 4 look like they're going to close this month, one of which I closed this morning.
Right.
Now, you see, that's how it goes down. I needed those 15 opportunities to be in there just to end up with one client.
That's right. Now, to get those 15 opportunities, we know we're going to have to do some qualification. What that means is that all of those cold calls people do, all of that outreach, all of the following up of those inbound inquiries, we need to be qualifying them so that they can then become one of those, I think you said 15, in the sales pipeline. Yeah, right. Qualified sales opportunities. Now, looking at numbers like that often gives people a little bit of a shock, and it should do. Yeah, because if you want to turn what you're doing into a predictable business that is scalable, you have the power to scale. You know, people talk about turning the knobs, turning the dials, a bit more of that, bit more of that. If you want to have any of that ability and power, right, you need to be able to forecast. Otherwise, you won't know how much to do.
Yes.
Right. And if that means you're having to get outside help to do all of those follow-up calls, so be it. If that means you're going to have to get someone to do some automation to do that follow-up, so be it. Get on and do it. But at least you'll know whether it's going to actually materialize into business. And it gives you the power to control those dials in future. One of those dials, for example, could be how much marketing you do. Yeah, you'll be able to have control over, well, my marketing takes about 3 months in order to generate an opportunity that could turn into an actual paying customer, right? So, right, if I need more business now, 3 months in advance, I can turn that dial up, put a bit more money into it, a bit more effort into it, or go and do a bit more networking or whatever it might be. Another dial that you might want to have control over is your conversion ratio. If you know that your conversion ratio is 1 in 3 quotes turn into an actual paying client, then guess what? If you turn that dial up and improve your conversion ratio, even just by a little bit, you will see those figures appearing in your sales or your actual orders.
And also, it should be noted that this may feel alien to you at this stage. And also, it may feel like that you're piling more work in only to get so small amount out. But it is a muscle. And the more times you exercise that muscle, the easier it's going to be. It is a process. And when I do it myself, you've got to realize that you've got to be gathering and shoving into the top of that funnel only for there to be a trickle feed down the bottom. Yeah. But if you do it right, that trickle feed is heavily qualified clients who want to work with you because they've already gone through your process to get there.
Right, exactly. Now, my message to people watching this is if you've ever had the thought, or if you have the thought now of, I must get some sales training because you think that's going to improve your sales, chances are, if a sales trainer comes in, they will take your money and provide you with a nice charismatic sales trainer who will motivate you and give you a little blast of, excitement and verve, and you'll come out of it thinking, I've learned some new skills and stuff. However, without a system, you will not be able to scale.
It will last a day or two, and then it will just fall back to where you were. And because that's your default position, and that's your comfort zone. But if you have a system, if you have a process, and even if it's slightly uncomfortable to start with, but you keep forcing yourself to follow that process, eventually it will become the norm. And that's where you need to go to. What I'd like to say is, before we go any further, I've created a little QR code. If you see that points straight to the Treacle site. Now, to become part of the Treacle Club is very important if you want to keep abreast of techniques and exercising that muscle.
Exercising that muscle is a good way of putting it. This is not sales training. This is sales coaching. This is making you do the things that you know you really want to do, but because you haven't exercised that muscle, it's going to feel uncomfortable. But not that uncomfortable. It's only going to be as uncomfortable as like jumping into a cold swimming pool. Once you get used to it, you'll be fine.
And apparently jumping into a cold swimming pool is good for your mental health, which rather ties things up in a bow for us. I wanted to say
Absolutely.
thank you so much to David
Thank
for
you.
coming on today. It's the middle of his holiday, but obviously getting this message out to you guys is important to him. This is important to me. Remember, if you want to start your fitness for sales, you see what I did there, journey, scan that QR code in the corner. Perhaps become a member of the Treacle Club. At the very least, have a one-to-one with David, just to see, so you understand where the ground is at. Be prepared for the fact that it may be uncomfortable going at the beginning, but you're creating a process, perhaps, where none exists.
Actually, on that page, you can apply for a free slot at the Objection Handling Masterclass. It's 1 hour on Zoom. It will give you an opportunity to practice that muscle that you need when somebody says to you something like, oh, it's a bit expensive, or I'm going to get some other quotes, or I need to think about it for a little bit, or
yeah, I need to
I
ask
have to speak to my partner first. I have to ask my wife. I have to ask the boss.
Yes, ask the boss. All right, so just bear in mind that David is all about helping you to help yourself. Not interested in flowery presentations, and we want stuff where you can apply it and you've got a process to stick to. And he'll bang on about that quite rightly. Until next week, try and keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and try and look after that mental health. There you go. Take yourself, and David, have a wonderful holiday. Bye-bye now.
Thank you very much.